Welcome back. Now, it's often said that water is the source of life, but only, South Africans at this point facing that challenge of providing this precious resource to a growing population. So what are the long-term solutions then, and how can heavy industries collaborate to ensure future sustainability? Well, planning human settlements provides a major challenge with the need to consider water-saving solutions. Jason Griessel is Director of Strategic Risk Management at Broll, and he joins us now for this discussion. Thank you so much, Jason, for your time, and good morning to you. Now, what are some of the long-term solutions for water, power and sustainability in South Africa?
Good morning, Tamila, and thanks for having me. It's good to be on the show with you. I think when we look forward into the economic and environmental space that we find ourselves, there needs to be more collaboration early. There needs to be a proactive approach to the way that we roll out infrastructure. There needs to be a proactive approach to improving lives and dignity for the population, regardless of which country you're from. And that will have a dramatic impact on the way that the load that is created on the grid or the water supply. And it'll also be able to improve the safety and security environment for the general populace. So we promote a proactive stance, and that's safety and sustainable by design. So ultimately, the answer to your question is getting in early.
Absolutely. And we're having this discussion because, I mean, the current challenges facing South Africans right now in South African cities are quite imminent. But also, how do these then impact our growing population, do you think?
So I think if we look on a macro scale, and what we mean on macro is, if we don't start taking into account environmental changes, the dramatic impacts of what the global economy looks like at the moment, then we are going to be left with a much wider gap between people that have basic services and people that do not. So if we talk specifically about the risks that come out of that, we have all in recent memory gone through a massive pandemic. We are now staring at medical implications of sanitization and water-based cholera, malaria also tends to spread in these environments. So the implications are medical. If we then look at, and just branching into the basics for business, if businesses are unable to access water to a lot of their industries and facilities, that's the livelihood and economic impact on jobs. And then if we look at catastrophic risk, specifically for built environment, fire is the largest risk that tends to claim the most amount of damage on built environment, as well as on the living populace. I mean, we've seen catastrophic fire events taking place in some of the most impoverished areas. And without the accessibility of fire protection systems that use water, you're unable to fight these catastrophes.
Yeah, I know that collaboration and collaborative efforts is quite a big, recommendation in this regard. And I just wonder how can then, the construction industry, the commercial law, real estate industry, all collaborate then with regards to addressing some of these challenges, but also the sustainability needs of South African, Jason, and as well as on buildings of the future.
So I think that's an interesting axis to talk about, Tamila. Industries are all in the current economic climate, surging ahead and doing what they can to make sure that they come out of this economic climate on the other end, whilst maintaining employment and opportunity. The downside of that is everybody is so laser focused on closing out their specific work stream that the collaboration falls around the wayside. If we think about the Ubuntu theme that us as South Africans are very familiar with, if we're able to collaborate earlier across industries, and we're not saying that the industries are disconnected. What we're saying is the output for, let's say, a listed real estate portfolio needs to be a development or a facility that benefits and fulfills corporate social responsibility in and around that area. And by achieving that, you're fundamentally having a safety by design. Now, that communication needs to come through from a design element and the architectural elements, and also needs to be perpetuated in the way that the construction industry puts these things together, because when we talk about engineering, procurement, and construction bids specifically, the EPC is responsible for a lot of the workload and employment opportunities, which the majority of them are short-term for that specific project. So when we talk about sustainability is, creating something that can be perpetually positive. So we need to have it from the commencement, the design phase, all the way through to the operational element. And I think, we are starting to get there with working groups, and the proof is in the pudding. When we look at some of the developments that have come through and really shone, they have been safer over time and less targeted by negative forces out in the market.
And I was also about to say to you, Jason, that with that being said, there are benefits, right, environmental and economic benefits to these collaborative efforts.
The environmental, so environment, we have all noticed the impact of El Nino. You cannot not take into account the dramatic swings in 100-year rainfall systems that we've seen hit KZN, as well as the Western Cape. And then the dramatic impact of drought, across certain parts of the country as well. So we need to start taking the environment more seriously. One, from a design perspective, so that there isn't loss of lives in the built environment because of these 100-year cycles coming home to roost, but also to have a lower impact on it, so that we play our part in reducing that footprint. On an economic aspect, it is undeniable that by running a more efficient built environment asset or infrastructure, ensuring comprehensive corporate social investment and responsibility programs in and around the assets, that not only are they safer, but the economic benefits of it are far longer in the return cycle of any of these assets in a portfolio.
Well, I thank you so much for joining me this morning and talking to me about this. Jason Griessel, this morning, the Director of Strategic Risk Management at Broll Risk Management. Thank you so much for your time. This way we will leave it for now.